All right, enough of that. I hit the wrong song. Hey, good evening, everybody. It is a special Monday edition of the Safety and the Sportswriter show with Knoxville Nate and Big Joe. A lot of football we want to get into because a lot of these people are moving and changing their new addresses. Some strange things coming out of the blue. Again, I think the Cleveland Browns have now totally screwed football. They did it before with Deshaun Watson and that outrageous contract. Now they made Myles Garret a $40 million man, which only begs to wonder what Micah Parsons is going to want, and every great defensive lineman and edge rusher for the next 20 years. And we'll see if it's going to affect football the way it has quarterbacks, where you can't afford to have two good quarterbacks anymore. So, Nate, what do you want to think about with that one by opening on that?
Well, as far as the Browns go, man, nobody looks at the Browns contracts and like just like when Deshaun signed that contract, everybody's like, oh God, now everyone's going to get fully guaranteed. No one's got one. So
not fully guaranteed, but the money,
it's going up anyway, man. The money's going up anyway because the caps, gone up so extreme every year. I mean, before, for a 15-year period, the cap went up like 2%. A year maximum. Now it's going up like 41 to 71 million per year. The money's just is ridiculous, and it's going to get paid out because of the collective bargaining agreement. The players are entitled to what they're entitled to, so they're going to keep getting more and more money. The question you asked though was, is he going to reset the market? And I don't think that general managers, I don't think that team presidents, I don't think that personnel guys look at Deshaun's contract or Myles Garrett's contract and look at that and base everyone else's contract on it. The Browns have to pay these guys to get them to come there and pay them even more to get them to stay there because no one wants to play for that franchise because it's a joke.
Yeah, but I just think that the money, at some point, there has to be some kind of a ceiling on where they're going with this thing, because it's a bubble that can't sustain itself eventually. Something's going to happen with this. I just don't see it. And I'm sorry. I do think it's resetting the market in a way, because everybody's going. Hey, Michael Parsons is going to say, "Hey, wait, I'm younger than him. I believe I'm as good as him. What are you going to pay me, Jerry?" But I don't feel sorry for Jerry at all.
Michael Parsons isn't as productive as Myles Garrett. He doesn't have the credentials, and it's not the Browns. But look at Max Crosby's deal. He got a 3-year extension for $106 million. And this guy is one of the top defensive ends in the league as well. So I think that Micah Parsons' contract is going to look more like what Max Crosby got than what Myles Garrett got. Myles Garrett got overpaid to keep him in Cleveland and to keep him happy. And, I don't think that Micah's, maybe he will, but I just don't think Micah Parsons is going to get the same amount of money that Myles Garrett got.
All right, then here's another bone that comes out of the last few days with me. I think we've seen the last of the great football dynasties. I think with the amount of money, the amount of movement now that happens, the amount they can't keep every player, I think that we're not going to have a Patriots. We're not going to have a Chiefs again. We're going to have the way these guys roll around the league. And I think that the owners are adjusting to it. The GMs are adjusting to it, saying, okay, we're going to have to go into semi-rebuilds every other year, it seems, or every 3 years, because we can't afford to keep. You got to win in that 3-year period, but it's now going to be really the serious 4-year window. Get it done, rebuild. Get it done or rebuild. Yeah,
I mean, what you don't want to be is stuck in like the midland like the Steelers are. Right. The Steelers don't have a quarterback, and they win enough games where they can't draft one. So then they're stuck, just winning 8 to 10 games. And for a lot of franchises, they'd probably be okay with that, but Steelers fans are not, and they want to win the whole thing. And so that's kind of, that's where it comes down to. Do you want to give up a season to get in position to rebuild? And really the only way to do that is to suck. Look at the Texans. They sucked, for 2 years there, almost 3. actually was 3 years, but they were able to go and get their quarterback. They got a new coach. They got Will Anderson.
Right.
They were able to, to string together enough draft picks to where they've got a really good competitive team now. But the only way to do that is to get, high draft picks. And the only team that's really been able to get those without sucking is the Niners, who've been able to move up.
Well, we're going to see what happens now that they had to give up Debo, and we'll see what happens, with that team, because it's going to go. It's kind of rebuilding on the fly. That the rookie wide receiver they got last year, I guess they're going to hope he can become Debo 2.0 or whatever you want to call it, and hopefully McCaffrey's back and healthy for the year, and they'll see what happens. They still have a great coach, and it's going to be about the development of Brock Purdy out there. The one thing which you brought up, which was a good example, a good thing I wanted to get into a little bit before we get into all the stuff with Darnold and stuff, because it's a discussion I've been having all weekend long with my friends. We're all Giant fans, and it's the rumor of Aaron Rodgers. I guess he can go to Minnesota, a la Brett Favre. I guess that's where Green Bay quarterbacks. So that's the path you go after you leave Green Bay. You go to the Jets, then you go to Minnesota, or people are talking, and I don't see why the Giants would be interested in him. And I don't understand why he's interested in the Giants. But a good friend of mine sat there and said, he goes, yeah, but Joe, what are we going to do? Sit there and watch him lose 14 games? There is no quarterback there. And I understand what he's talking about, but the Giants aren't good enough to make a run in the Super Bowl. They're nowhere near. And I don't get the attraction of Aaron Rodgers to the Giants to win, like you just said, 6 or 7 games and then be out of the running for your next quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think the coaches and the general manager, they want to win now because they're going to get fired if they don't win now. So they're not going to be around to do another draft. I mean, I couldn't believe that they brought them both back now. So these guys want to win right now, and the only way to win right now is to find a quarterback that can win you some games. Now, I do think Aaron Rodgers makes a lot of sense there because they have the ability to draft somebody and they have the ability to play Aaron Rodgers. So if you can, play Aaron Rodgers and have some young guy learn under him, I think you're winning right there. But do I think that Aaron Rodgers wants to stay in New York? I don't really feel like that's what he wants to do. I mean, New York did not treat him very well. The Jets sucked just like they always suck. And then all of a sudden it was Aaron Rodgers' fault and he couldn't play football anymore, which we all know isn't true. He was actually playing pretty well towards the end of the season. They just couldn't stop anybody, and convert because they didn't have a coach and they didn't have a defense going on towards the end of the season. So I really don't think that he's gonna go to New York unless that's his only option. And it looks like right now, as you mentioned, Minnesota might be an option. I don't know what JJ McCarthy's situation is health-wise. I do know that he had 2 surgeries and the first one wasn't 100% successful, and so they had to go back in. That happens more often than you would think, so I don't think that's a deal breaker on him playing this year. But is he going to be ready? He's never taken a snap in the NFL, so I honestly don't think that that's where Aaron Rodgers is going to go either, though, because I mean, that guy's proven he can win with Sam Darnold. Why would they need to get Aaron Rodgers? I really think it's going to come down to the Steelers possibly looking. I mean, do you want Russell Wilson again, the guy that lost, 5-6 games in a row to the end of the season? Or do you want to try somebody like Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. But they're running out of options in Pittsburgh as well.
And they go out and they get Metcalf. I mean, you got to get a quarterback who can throw to Metcalf and Pickens. I mean, you're going to sit there. If you don't get a quarterback in there, a decent quarterback, you're wasting 2 very good wide receivers and a good tight end too.
Hey, that's why I'm thinking that might be where Aaron Rodgers wants to go. If I was Aaron Rodgers, I would want to go to Pittsburgh. They got a good defense. They've got a coach who doesn't put up with shit and has been there for a long time. They've got 2 stellar big, deep down the field wide receivers in DK Metcalf and George Pickens. They've got 2 or 3 solid tight ends. They've got good running backs. The offensive line is better, not great.
Fan base.
Yeah, if I was Aaron Rodgers, I would go to Pittsburgh right now and I would ask them how much they would pay me, and then I would sign the contract, and that's where I would go if I still wanted to play. But if he still wants to play, he needs to get on board quick because these musical chairs are about to be filled up.
Yeah, definitely are. And let's start with one of the first ones. Kind of a shock coming out of nowhere was Geno Smith to the Raiders. I mean, I didn't, I guess Pete Carroll really likes him. I mean, I thought that was going to be one, but Rodgers was kind of an outlier for that. I thought the exact opposite was going to happen. That Sam Darnold would be at the Raiders and Geno would still be in Seattle. Weird when I saw that hit the news wire on Saturday. I was like, what? Geno Smith to the Raiders?
It kind of surprised me at first, but then once I thought about it, it didn't really surprise me at all because Pete does like him. And Pete was instrumental in bringing Geno in having him there to back up Russ, and then inevitably to take over for Russ. And, I'll give him this. Geno hasn't really been the problem, there in Seattle. Last year was a little bit rougher than it has been. But he's been putting up good numbers. He's been having some decent production. And, I think sometimes a change of scenery is beneficial to these guys. Plus, he's going back to the coach that really believed in him. Who knows if this guy that took over for Pete really, really liked him or believed in him or agreed with him playing in his philosophy. But I think this might reinvigorate Geno. And I think it was a good move for the Raiders because they weren't going to get the quarterback that they wanted. And like we and you've talked about it 100 times, I don't like any of these quarterbacks in the draft. So these guys that are making moves and getting somebody that can come in and at least play for them right now, I think are smart because I've got no trust in any of these guys coming out.
Well, that's back to the Giant phase of, if Rodgers were going to mentor somebody, mentor who? I mean, the only guy I would take a flyer on for the Giants right now that's in this draft is McCord in the second or third round and see if he can develop into something. I don't think the first round guys are worth it. I just don't. So,
I don't either, but that doesn't mean that they won't get overdrafted. Me and you both know that Cam Ward's going to go in the first round. Shador is probably going to go in the first round. Maybe Jackson Dart is a potential first rounder. Quinn Ewers is a late first rounder, maybe even move up into the mid first if these quarterbacks are all gone. But I could see them potentially bringing Rodgers in and then maybe having Quinn Ewers or one of these other guys backing him up. I think that would be smart to hedge your bets and get two guys instead of just bringing in one of these unknowns.
All right. Well, let's talk about Justin Fields, which I think the Jets did a smart move. I just think that's a move. Give the kid, and also give the kid time. Don't sit there and have a short leash with him, as he showed 2 years ago. Yeah, look, he's not a perfect quarterback yet. He can grow into the position, but he wins games. He was winning games before he was benched in Pittsburgh. What's the bottom line for a quarterback? W's. I realize, you can have the prettiest quarterback in the world and get nothing out of him. And you can have, look, in New York City, I know, we're used to it. I mean, let me face it. I love Phil Simms. I love Eli Manning. Not the prettiest quarterbacks in the world, but they won games. And I was happy with them. So, I think the Jets made a great move. Young quarterback, still, 25, 26 at the most? He's got legs, so he can do the run pass options. He's got a brain. He's a leader, as he showed at Ohio State during the COVID crap when everybody wanted to close the sport down. And all the kid needs is a chance.
Well, and what I think really speaks to his character is look what's happened to him the last couple of years. Look in Chicago where he won, 7-8 games, had them in contention for the playoffs, even though he missed 4 games with a dislocated thumb and had a much worse roster. And they couldn't run him out of town fast enough to replace him with the number 1 overall pick, who then said a word. Yeah, he never said a word. Then they bring in Hall of Famer Keenan Allen. Then they bring in DJ Moore, and they bring in offensive linemen. They bring in defensive guys, and they struggled to win 5 games this year. And did Justin say, "Told you so"? Did Justin come out and say, look what happened? You got rid of me and you got worse"? He didn't say a word. Then he goes to Pittsburgh, starts off the season. I believe they were 4-2 when they pulled him, and he was playing tremendously. They pull him for this guy who's getting paid $36 million by another team to not play for them. And he doesn't say a word there either. He shows
Especially
up.
when Pittsburgh lost their last 5 games.
He didn't say a word when they lost their last 5 games. He didn't say a word when they threw him out there in random situations in the middle of the game without being warm and made him look bad. He didn't say a word. He just did what they asked him to do, and did the best thing he could. And I think that shows the character this guy has. I think this guy loves playing football. I think he wants to be great, and I think he's willing to put in the work. He just needs the opportunity. Unfortunately, he went to my Jets, who suck, so I don't know if this is going to be a great move for him, but he should be able to win the job because they don't have anybody else.
I think the Jets, I think their defense is good. I think a little bit overrated at times, but it's good. They've got talent on defense for sure. You've got a 3-headed monster at running back that's going to be behind him. He's got his old partner in crime out there on the wide receiver. And, if I was the Jets, I tell you, I'd try and get that tight end from Penn State, give him one more weapon. Their offensive line was actually getting better at the end of the season. Not great, still a problem. But with his legs and mobility, they don't have to be perfect. I just think that you got to sit there and give him a chance. And I would love to see them get the tight end from Penn State. I don't know about you. What do you think about that?
I think they definitely need some more weapons. You got Garrett Wilson. You've got Xavier Gibson. But who else do you have? Alan Lazard, they're trying to run out of town. You got Tyler Conklin and Jeremy Ruckert. They let Davante Adams walk and cut him, which is fine. I don't have a real problem with that. But you've got to replace him, and they have to bring in somebody either through the draft or through free agency as far as a wide receiver goes. And they need to do it now. If you're gonna go all out for Justin Fields, you need to get somebody that can help him out. And we've talked about this. There is wide receivers available. Keenan Allen, who we just talked about, is available. Stephon Diggs, Brandon Cooks, Amari Cooper, Tyler Lockett, DeAndre Hopkins. There's lots of guys out there that are free agents that you can bring in. And it's a decent wide receiver draft as well.
Oh, just ask the Giants to release Hyatt and give him a chance. My God, Giants have wasted 3 years of a poor boy's life.
Yeah.
Never given him a chance.
Yeah, he never even got on the field, and I don't know if that's a result of his practice habits. I really have no idea because I never got to see him.
They cut him. If every other coach, it's almost like they're doing it out of spite for the kid. It's like if he's not in your plans, cut him and let him pick up with somebody that's going to give him a chance. Because the Giants have never given that kid a chance.
No, they haven't. But I didn't know. I didn't see. Did they cut him?
No, I'm saying they should cut him. And give him a chance.
I was like,
he gets on with a team that wants to give him a chance to see what he can do.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't understand why you wouldn't see what you got with him at least.
See what you got to cut him. That's it. It's either one or the other. Why are you paying him if you're not going to use him? Because he looks good in a jersey?
No, I don't understand that. And I definitely think he needs to move. And this was a question that I wanted to ask you. We just talked about Davante Adams. Obviously, he's going to Los Angeles to play for the Rams, which I think is a good fit for him.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford is, kind of pretty close to Aaron Rodgers' skill set. So I think that'll work. What do you think about Cooper Kupp at this point? Would you take a flyer on him if he took a pay cut for you?
At the Giants?
Anywhere. Where do you think he's got left? He's had some injuries the past couple of seasons, but he's not that far removed from having one of the greatest seasons ever.
Where I would want him, and I don't know who's I'm going to give you. You're good at picking up this stuff. Where he'd be perfect is like who's a young quarterback with a young wide receiver room that needs a steadying veteran influence.
New York. The
in New York.
The Jets or the Giants.
Well, the Giants don't have the quarterback yet, so I don't want to waste Cooper Kupp's time.
I
If they bring
understand.
in a legit quarterback,
if they brought in a veteran, I'm saying, and they needed somebody else. But I'm just saying I could see him going to New York. I could see him going to
Denver,
Seattle.
How about Denver?
I could see Denver. I could see Denver.
I mean, also, another guy that's gonna be like they're looking around, because Kelsey's getting older, even though he's talking about coming back. Kansas City.
Yep.
I mean, go to Kansas City, and you're working with the best quarterback in the game right now. They'll be in it. So, any of those teams, I mean, I would say would be the best. I mean, the Giants got to figure out the quarterback, and they're not going to tell if they. Let's see what they do the rest of the week. At least the Jets made a move.
Yeah.
The Giants made no moves at all yet. I mean, did he tap or kick the tires? I mean, they kicked the tires on getting Stafford, which was never going to happen. Matthew Stafford was not coming to the Giants to get his ass kicked. They're hoping that Aaron Rodgers is desperate enough to give them a look. Other than that, they didn't kick the tires on. I didn't want Sam Darnold, but you didn't hear they kicked the tires on him. Justin Fields, they didn't do anything about that. I mean, the Giants are sitting on their ass. So they're either in love with one of these rookie quarterbacks, or they're just putting everything to the middle of the table, hoping that Aaron Rodgers comes here and gives them some good press. That's the only thing I can think they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I have to imagine that we're going to hear, where Aaron Rodgers is going pretty soon. I mean, if not today, I would think tomorrow, because if he doesn't act quickly, there's going to be nowhere to go.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, last Sam Darnold. I mean, Seattle's betting a lot that wasn't just a flash in the pan. That wasn't just a one-time wonder last year. And not that I root against Sam Darnold. I just never been impressed by him. And this guy, the coach up in Minnesota, seems to be the quarterback whisperer. And if he didn't want him back, that kind of speaks volumes.
That is exactly what I was about to say. I'm like, if anyone knows about him, it's the guy, it's O'Connell in Minnesota. He's the first person that's had success with him. And if he didn't want him back, what does that say about him? Because as we just discussed, we don't know if J.J. McCarthy's going to be ready. I seriously doubt he's going to be ready to start opening day. Maybe he will, but do you even want to start him opening day without? I mean, he's not going to be able to play in all these preseason games and be able to go through all the offseason programs. There's no way that's happening, at least at full contact. So do you even want to start this guy opening day? I don't think so. So they're going to have to bring somebody in. Why wouldn't you keep Sam Darnold? And we heard all this talk about how, he was going to in the market for a $40-50 million contract. He didn't get anywhere close to that. And I just don't think the market for him was very big. I think Seattle, after losing Geno, was the only team that was really in the sweepstakes. That's how they got him so cheap, Joe. They got him for 3 years, $110 million. Yeah. And really, after this year, they can cut him without even that much of a cap hit. So I just, even the team that got him isn't showing that much faith in him, at least contractually. So, I don't think anybody's buying it.
No, I don't think so at all. Well, we got about 9 minutes or 7 minutes left here. I wanted to do a quick thing because I watched St. John's and I watched Auburn on this weekend. Basketball, and I gotta tell you, men's college basketball, nothing against the pros. I know you're more of a pro guy than me, but the way these guys are playing defense now and actually hustling on defense, it's like when you got a team like Auburn or you got a team like St. John's, it's like you're playing 5-on-7. They are all over it on defense. I will take the game they're playing now over any pro game of a bunch of dribbling, shoot. Dribbling, shoot. At least in the college game right now, they're playing defense. They're attacking the rim, and I think it's wonderful. I think it's going to be a great tournament.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I've watched, obviously Duke every game this year. They're one of the best defensive teams in the entire college basketball. I've watched the SEC very closely, almost every game. Tennessee, You just mentioned Auburn, Alabama. I mean, Alabama beat them. That was actually probably the worst defensive game either of those teams have played all year because they gave up 90 points, but they did go into overtime. But both those teams are solid defensively. Texas is a good defensive team. Florida is good defensively. There's a lot of really good defensive teams in this league. And I think this is going to be one of the better tournaments because I truly believe there's 7 to 8 teams that could win it.
Yeah, and defense travels. And we'll see. It'd be nice to see Pitino get it and do something, at least get them to the Final Four. It's been 21 years since St. John's made it to the Final Four.
I just want to see him win a tournament game, get into it and win a game or two. I haven't even seen him in the dance for a long time. So if he can get them in the tournament, and win a game or two, I think that'll be pretty cool.
Well, I think, of course, the whole thing, in some ways, I don't want them to win the Big East tournament because they'll have to stay in the East or Midwest and play. I would love to see St. John, and this is where I'm hoping for UConn too. If UConn gets sent anywhere, if they make the tournament, is they get sent out west because how they pack the East and the Midwest and the South because, just because of TV. So they put the lesser teams, they only put a couple of good teams usually out in the West. So usually you get, that's a good place to come out of if you need to prove yourself.
Yeah, and that's what it's going to come down to. As far as this tournament goes, is the matchups, who everybody gets to play, when they get to play them, who's healthy, who's hitting shots that night. That's what it comes down to. So where you go and what seed you get is going to be crucial. And I think that with that victory over North Carolina, I'm almost positive Duke has locked up a number 1 seed with the way they finished out the regular season. Auburn probably has a number 1 seed. But they've lost 2 games in the last week and a half. So that's a little bit shaky there on that ground. And to me, Auburn's had a tremendous season, but I could see them getting beat in this tournament. I really could. I know Bruce Pearl is a winning coach and all that, and a great motivator and a great guy as far as scouting and getting guys ready. But, the way that Nate Oates went after him the other day in Auburn and was able to beat him, I think he kind of gave people the blueprint of how to go after him.
We'll see. And, of course, Marquette, I think, is going to be another team nobody's going to want to catch up with because of Shaka Smart in that team. So I think we got 3 good teams coming out of the Big East. Don't know. And Creighton is good, but Creighton plays that one style of basketball. It just never. They don't adjust. They're just like we're either good enough to beat you or we're not.
Yeah.
And where these other guys, I think that's where the UConn, St. John's, and Marquette have a step up over Creighton because they can make adjustments. So we will see. It's going to be interesting.
Yep. Well, and just back to the NFL for a moment. There's some other splash signings that I saw. Hassan Reddick is off to Tampa Bay, which honestly, I didn't like what he did last year, but that is a great spot for him. Yeah. Todd Bowles, that defense, that is a place that Hassan Reddick, if he's got gas left in the tank, can really, really thrive. Plus, they got
a year off.
Yeah, he did have a year off. So that's what I'm saying. If he can, but sometimes these guys take time off and then they're never the same.
Yeah, true.
So if he can get back to where, anywhere close to what he was, he can, he could be the guy. And then, Josh Sweat is going to the Cardinals, after that Super Bowl run. So a couple of edge rushers on the move there. And then obviously Khalil Mack stayed put after a pretty productive season. So interested to see where Joey Bosa lands up. I think somebody is going to take a flyer on him. And if he can stay healthy, a change of scenery might do him right.
Well, that's the biggest thing. What's always been with him is staying on the field.
Yeah.
He can play. He's got to stay on the field. So
yeah, and he's had trouble doing that.
All right. We'll call it a night. Might be back on Thursday. We'll see what I think my schedule should be good for Thursday. I don't know about you.
Yeah, that should be good because I'm going on spring break on Saturday. So maybe we can do one more on Thursday night.
Yeah, you're going on spring break where?
Down to Florida.
Hey, good, because you know why? I couldn't do the show next week anyways because I'm out of town myself.
Nice. Yeah, we're
So
going down to Florida. We usually go to South Carolina,
Right.
but we're bypassing South Carolina this year and trying to head down to the little bit further south where it might be a little bit warmer.
All right. Enjoy. Hey, it's 60 degrees up here. Can't believe it.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna
nice.
get out and take a ride.
Yeah, me too, brother.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right, babe. Peace.
Bye.